So if you have a Virgo moon, that's what I'm going to talk about today. I know I haven't done an astrology video in a while, but I do want to finish all the signs in the zodiac, the moon signs. I'm going to have to redo the Scorpio one because that video got messed up, but I'll do that after Libra. Before I say that, again, just a reminder, we do have a podcast on Radio St. Pete, and it's an astrology podcast. So if under the posts on YouTube, I've put those up, but if you go to the Radio St. Pete website and look under podcast, you can see what we've been talking about. So anyways, also my astrology oracle deck, all the planets, all the signs, all the houses is on sale until some point this month. I don't know when that website's going down, but anyways, and then after that, they'll be back to regular price. So that's Joanna, GerardPsychic.com, and it is going down at some point this month, probably pretty soon. But they're on sale right now, and I wrote the little book in there to explain everything. So what I want to talk about today, because as you guys know, I've been a Western astrologer for a really long time. I started studying astrology when I was a little kid, and it blossomed into a career. But I've also really started integrating Eastern astrology and everything. So when I do videos, in my head, I'm always combining both, and I think that's really important because I feel as though both matter, and in order to really be effective, I like to integrate both systems. So when we talk about the moon signs, and I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again, over in the West, we're talking about primarily the emotional nature of who we are, and typically women and the mother in general. Over on the East, it's not only the emotional nature, but it's also the way you think, because over here it's just Mercury is the way you think, right? Just like we all know Mercury's retrograde right now, and Saturn is also retrograde, which is really important too. People forget about those other planets going retrograde. It's like there's always somebody going retrograde, but everybody just talks about Mercury all the time. Anyways, so the emotional nature, and it really does make sense because our mind affects our emotions, right? So it makes sense that this would happen. Now, predictive wise, I've done predictions with Western astrology for years and years and been accurate, but ironically, it's almost easier to do predictions with Vedic or Indian astrology because of the dashas. And the dashas are according to what nakshatra your moon was in when you were born. So it's different for everybody. And we all go through different life things at different times. Sometimes times are good, depending if that dasha is positive and how well aspected that planet is in the natal chart. But I do like to make these videos short and sweet, even though I love astrology, because I know it's annoying when people talk too slow or too much. So let me get to the bottom line here. So in the West, I look at the moon. Okay, so the moon is a lens, basically, of the experiences you're going to most likely encounter in this lifetime. Think of it like the experiences you encounter. So a Virgo moon, their experiences are going to be very different than an Aries moon or a Libra moon or a Taurus moon or a Scorpio moon. Everybody's got these cliches and, this is how this moon sign is. And the reason why is because we all see life, we all have different experiences emotionally. And so this kind of creates the personality. But in the West, we also have free will, so we can switch things up, we can change things up. In the East, it's more, karmic, it's more fated, it's more destiny. I combine both because I believe in both. I believe in free will, I believe in manifesting, and I also believe that there is such a thing as destiny, and some things are just destined, and that's just the way it is. We can't control everything. So the Virgo energy is going to see the world as a place that's kind of critical. And, so this is why they get that perfectionist reputation. And this is why sometimes people get annoyed with them and they're like, oh, you must be a Virgo because everything's just got to be so neat and tidy and blah, 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 blah. Because they feel as though they're judged on how perfect they are. Now, on the positive, these are people that are great at anything to do with medicine, anything to do with logic, with structure, with fine tuning or details. It's the opposite of the 12th house or Pisces, everything in Virgo. And this goes for people with a lot of planets in the 6th house too, but I'm specifically talking about a Virgo moon today. So and this is why they're so good at service work, caring for others. like I said before, you want a doctor or a dentist that has attention to detail. You really do. Like, you need that. That makes a good doctor. You don't want somebody that's just like halfway doing stuff. I know this is good enough, and that kind of a thing. So that's the 12th house. That's the big picture. That's the esoteric. That's spirituality. That's psychic ability. That's the subconscious mind. These people are very earthy. They're very grounded. So they're not reactive with the moon there, unless, of course, it's aspecting something like Mars or Uranus or Pluto or whatever. But just on its own, it's like the other earth signs. It's like a Capricorn or a Taurus moon. The fire signs are reactive. The water signs are reactive. The air signs intellectualize everything. But this Virgo moon is not going to be reactive, but what they do is they can become very self-critical. And unfortunately, because they see that world emotionally through a lens of criticism, or that people are judging them all the time, they can sometimes project that criticism onto others. And this is what other people have a problem with, because most people are just not okay with being criticized all the time. And nor should they be, right? So, you can't blame them. But that's that energy that they're attracting towards them. And of course, they have free will and they can just focus on the positive. But this is one of the things they want to guard out against, because it is known to be a hypercritical sign, because again, they see the world that way. Now, somebody with an Aries moon is going to see the world very differently. They probably have had more aggressive experiences coming towards them, so their moon is more reactive. They're more like, no, I'm not putting up with this. A Scorpio moon is going to be very different, because they don't meet the nicest people in the world. They meet a lot of nasty, jealous kind of people. So they see the world kind of through a dangerous kind of like, I can't trust this one, that one. That's why they have a reputation for being paranoid. So every moon sign has this reputation, because it's what experience are being drawn towards you. And that's how you see the world. Of course, you can change this, because I do believe in free will, but just naturally, we can see things any way we want to see them, but just naturally, if we're not aware of what's going on, we're going to see the world the way our moon sign allows us to see the world. So this is why the moon is interesting. And like I said, in the East, it's very much the way you think. And it really does make sense that the moon would also be because again, the brain affects the emotions, right? That's the way it is. So anyways, this is the moon in Virgo. Again, I'm on Radio St. Pete. My oracle cards are for sale. Astrology oracle cards, and very, very they're not going to be on sale long, because like I said, I'm taking that website down. I got another website that's still up, and who knows, I'll probably put something else up at some point. But that's that. So the Libra moon will be next. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.